Brilliant. I think there's so many choices out there at the moment as well. It makes it a lot more challenging. So I think that leads nicely into, looking at navigating that HR tech space. And, Rob, your platform, how do you think it can help organizations identify the right fit, right for solution for their requirements?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about the HR and TA tech space, it is extremely saturated. As you said earlier, there's an abundance of choice, and that can often be confusing and overwhelming for tech buyers. And most of the time, if you don't do this regularly, and most people say in Sarah's shoes, for example, when you're going out to market for a HRS, you're not doing that very often. Hopefully, when you implement the solution, you're going to keep that solution 3, 4, 5 years and beyond. Often in this day and age, the solution will probably last longer than the people using it. And therefore, it can be really hard to know where to start. And the support options for people that are in the market for tech are limited, and each one of them also carry potential unfavorable influence. That's another way of saying bias. If you think about maybe search engines, for example, and software directories, they're really good sources to tap into for research, but there are risks attached to that. Simply put, they favour vendors with the biggest marketing budget, and essentially that means those who pay the most are presented first. And I think when you're trying to identify vendors based on how well they meet your needs and how well they fit your business, that can be extremely unhelpful. You might want to talk to some of your industry peers, and by that I mean other people in your industry who you might network with in various groups or events. They often have limited experience of implementing software, and they might not be familiar with the level of detail they need about your business and your processes and specific requirements to provide you a confident level of advice and support. So there's few options out there. I guess there are consultants in this space you might want to engage with, but typically, and I always use the estate agent analogy here. If you're moving house, you wanted to buy a new house, you'd probably hop onto like a Zoopla or a Rightmove so that you've got a really good view of the market. If you use a consultant in this space, typically they will only work with a handful of vendors, and it would be like going to a single estate agent's shop window and saying that's where I'm going to buy my house from. They probably haven't got what you need.
Yeah, good. Pick Sarah, what what key factors would you consider when evaluating HRIS vendors? And obviously, do you want to talk about some long-term partnerships? What is that thought process? Give us some of your advice on that.
Yeah, I think as Rob's already said, the market is very saturated. So you're either going to find, like, you're going to Google like HRS vendors and see what comes up at the top, and then you're going to get some of the big players and some of the places that have got the biggest marketing budgets, like Rob said. You're going to look in your industry, so you're going to look, and again, you're probably going to turn up a lot of the same names when you're looking in kind of HR forums as well. So it's really hard to get beneath those maybe top 20. So we've used RecTech twice. So we used it a few years ago when we were looking for a new applicant tracking. So 3 years ago, when Rob showed me the platform, I was like, do you do this for HRS systems? And he was like, no, but we're thinking of it. And I was like, well, please do, because this will be amazing. And then lo and behold, a couple of months ago, well, more than a few months ago, 6 months ago, we reached out to Rob and said, look, we're looking for a new HR system. Can you help us? And we came across a system then, which we're using now, called Factorial. And it's just not a platform that we would have come across. And I think the danger is when you start just looking at, you scratch the surface with the vendors and you jump into demos. And like I said before, it's a bit chicken and egg. You could waste so much time on demos, and then you have one demo and then you want to get someone else involved, so you have a second demo, and it can really escalate quite quickly. And then you then find yourself coming back and saying, actually, what is it we need? So I think it can be quite dangerous to go into those demos. Also, you can get overexcited about some of these platforms as well. So you can be like, oh my God, look at all this, all singing, all dancing platform. And then you get the price through and it's like, oh, that's well outside of our budget. So I think, obviously RecTech is brilliant because what it allows you to do is really put all of your requirements into the system, and it surfaces up platforms that are going to be a good fit for your requirements and your business. And that it's doing a lot of the legwork effectively for you. And like I said, we would not have come across Factorial without using RecTech. It just would never have been on our radar. It wasn't in the forums, etc. And it wasn't appearing on Google. So I'm sure Rob will